You're welcome. Well, just to see it, I had to call it out.
Is it really that bad?
No, I just
give me a hard time.
No, I'm not giving you. I just saw it and just kind of jumped out. I go, man,
Have you ever even tried to grow a beard before?
Are you shitting me? Of course not.
Are you shitting me?
It takes a week for me to. I haven't shaved in 3 weeks. Can't even tell.
Yeah, we do have a very white trash facial hair.
Well, I don't. No, what do you mean white trash? Bullshit. Look, that's a great thing. I don't have to get up and shave like I'm a Wolverine every day.
Yeah. All right. Hey.
People
this whole time we were live. Look at that. No, I knew that we were live. I just thought we were just talking a little crap between father and son. No big deal. But hey, let's get into it.
All right.
This is Complete on the Believe Sports Network, and we're brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook, always setting you up for the latest odds and predictions up to the game action. But let's get into it, big guy. The big news that happened, it seemed like just a few hours ago, the New York Giants are moving on from Coach Brian Daboll. He has been relieved of his duties as the head coach, and now Mike Kafka will take over as the interim head coach. The rest of the staff will stay in place, and it does look like that Joe Schoen is going to be leading the charge in finding the New York Giants' next head coach for next season.
Well, why do you say that? Just because he was not let go today, or do you have inside information that when the year's over, he'll still be there?
Yeah, so just some of the reports that I've been reading just from guys, especially Adam Schefter, right? Just saying that, he is going to be the guy that's leading the charge essentially for that head coaching vacancy, right?
Okay. So, well, I'd say this, Matt, that's been the talk.
It's still early, right?
Well, no, but that's been the talk, for since last year was over or whatever. And they went into this that Joe Schoen is the favorite son of the New York Giants, and they believe in what he's done. So they separated the two, and it's really tough, because I think about the situation, the person that gets fired, the family, all the people surrounding them, even some of the players and coaches and all that. Of course, they're going to be down about it too.
Right. So this is a quote from John Mara. We feel like Joe has assembled a good young nucleus of talent, and we look forward to its development. Giants president John Mara in this statement released by the team. Unfortunately, the results over the past 3 years have not been what any of us want. We take full responsibility for those results, and we look forward to the kind of success our fans expect. The Giants have amassed a 20-40-1 record with Joe Schoen as general manager, including a postseason appearance in 2022. But since then, the New York Giants have gone 6-11, 3-14, and currently this year stand at 2-8. And really, I think that the bigger issue, right, especially for this season, was just the fact of how these fourth quarter losses, right, and how devastating they've been, right? The point differential, I think, for the New York Giants in fourth quarter games right now is like minus 50, right? So teams are outperforming them in critical moments late in football games, and wasn't quite as devastating as the Denver Broncos loss, of course, on the road. But this last one in Chicago, it was still a difficult one and a tough pill, I think, for Giants fans to swallow.
Okay, well, first and foremost, there's many things to talk about. I'll just throw this out there to start.
Yeah.
If Jaxson Dart doesn't get banged up, they're going to win the game.
That's right.
I mean, they're dominating. He is on fire. The play calls, the play designs were on fire.
The quarterback runs, yeah.
Well, yeah, quarterback runs. Well, they're doing too much of that. No, they're not. It's they need help. And the help is that Jaxson Dart's just got to be a little more careful when he's running. And my first thought about the firing and all that, why do it now? And even though the Giants, it seems like every game here since Jaxson Dart's been the starter, it doesn't seem like it's real. They start with great energy and they really get it going right off the top of the game, and you just go, man, if we could just keep this going. But why did they let Brian Daboll go down after this amount of time? I'm sure they hope that maybe Mike Kafka will have a different energy or a different thought process, maybe to hope to win more games. But what would you do if you keep him and they go on a really hot streak and win a lot of games? And then, you get back at it. Should we fire him? Should we let him go? Should we keep him? What goes on? I always think that's kind of part of the equation, that they can see that it is different since Jaxson Dart has been in the huddle as the starter. Right. And I even had some people call me today. why didn't they start him at the beginning of the year? And I go, come on, don't even get into that. Yeah. Because a lot of people say, well, they need to sit him for the whole year and let him really come in. Yeah, come on, what first-round quarterback sits there for the whole year? I know there's been some, but that was never going to happen with the New York Giants. So that's just some of my first thoughts. And, hey, the offense was on fire with Jaxson Dart out there, but here's who was not on fire. The defense never caught fire. Am I right or wrong, Matt?
The defense has underperformed dramatically, I would say.
I mean, I watched the Bears game
coming into the season.
Yeah, but I watched the Bears game, and yeah, they chased Caleb Williams out of the pocket, but it wasn't because of great pressure. He just has the ability to float and do what he wants because he's so athletic and has all the speed and the power to do all the things that he needs to do as a quarterback, and he does it really well. Hey, that was fun watching the Giants play the Bears because those two quarterbacks, I'm like, this is awesome. Watch, and little snowflakes and everything going like that. The Giants are playing well. You love the offense, what they're doing.
The uniforms look great.
Oh, my God, those helmets and those uniforms. I don't know what color that was. Was it white or was it like, well, I don't want to make this into funny. But, man, those uniforms were bright white, and they did look great.
It was Mr. Clean White. That's how they were. It was perfect, that
way. What are some of your thoughts, though, Matt, about this firing?
Yeah, I mean, of course, starting this conversation, this thought, right? I'm a fan of the New York Giants, and of course, just been upset with how this season has gone and just our performances week after week. And it does seem like this season in particular that it just kind of, it keeps happening the same way. We kind of keep unraveling in games very similar. And I think that ultimately that's the reason why Mr. Mara and the Tisch family made this choice, right? Moving forward was just the fact that for whatever reason, there seemed to be that just, we kept having the same challenges over and over and over again. And even like you mentioned today, just now, the defense today or yesterday, 3 quarterback hits, 2 of them, were responsible for Brian Burns, so like, I know Brian Burns is that guy. There's no doubt about it. But as the rest of the whole of the defensive side, they've underperformed. There's no doubt. With Daboll and Kafka on the offensive side, yeah, it's been touch and go. There's been moments where you kind of like what they're doing. They kind of caught fire there with Daniel Jones in the first year. And then it just kind of completely fell apart. It seemed like week after week after week the past 2 seasons. And then, of course, Jaxson Dart in the starting lineup. Yeah, it was great. His energy and enthusiasm were the biggest factors of it. And then, of course, Cam Skattebo and his approach to all that as well. So you definitely felt like there was good, youthful, vibrant energy about this football team.
Yeah.
But still, just not a disciplined enough football team, I think, at times. At times just felt like a sloppy coach football team at times, right? Especially with critical situations and such. But, man, poor efficiency in the red zone. That's always been something I feel like has been detrimental to this football team these past few years. Their inability to get the ball into the end zone, the struggles with our kicking game at times and injuries in that field. It's just a lot of things compiled, I feel like, on Coach Daboll season after season. And unfortunately, it just eventually caught up to him.
Well, this is something you never thought we would say this time of year after last year and all that, but the offense was way ahead of the defense. And I think the defense, it's been built to be, it's not been built to be okay or solid. It was built to be really good. And, so I would say this, I know they had injuries. I know the secondary, they had people hurt on the offensive side, Skattebo, Malik Neighbors. We know all that, but I look at some of these teams and they got the same problems going on. Yeah, they have the same issues. And, so talking about the defense, I just thought that Shane Bowen, I thought this was going to be a really aggressive, blitzing, get after everything, confuse the offense, confuse who you're blocking. Yeah. Because that's another thing I will complain about a little. The pass protections that the Giants use, too many free guys run off the edge. Right. It's an epidemic in the NFL because here you are. Here's the guy getting a little closer than he should, the safety, whatever. He's most likely going to blitz. But if he blitzes, can the receiver see it? Can we change the route? Can we do something different instead of let me try to dodge the guy or get rid of the football quick, which are both terrible ways to go about it. But it's an epidemic everywhere, and it really, I think, was a big factor with the Giants again yesterday. When Chicago blitzed, Matt, free, coming full speed, baby. And, they didn't do a great job of picking it up. That's
no,
for sure.
You're right. They haven't had really any answers to that. And I think, we look at teams like, let's just take the San Francisco 49ers as an example. They got a backup quarterback, a bunch of injuries to the skill position. Their main guy, Christian McCaffrey, is really their best threat offensively for a chunk of games here. Defense riddled with injuries as well. Their 2 stars are out, but yet there they are just mopping the floor with the Giants 2 weeks ago. And I think that was like a really huge indicator too. And I think that's probably the game that really was like probably held a little bit more weight, right, than maybe some of these other games that we initially think about with the Giants. When the Niners came into town and essentially their entire fan base invaded the stadium, and just, with the backups and all that kind of stuff on Phil Simms' bobblehead day, I think that was when the discussion really turned pretty serious. I would
say that. Oh, sorry. Let me just say this. So
go ahead.
Here's why. Many reasons why it was really disappointing. You and I talked last week. I said the 49ers, man, they got to be out of gas.
Right.
They're playing this game and they got everybody hurt and they're doing this, and you just can't live and just keep winning game after game when you have those injuries. And one, the battles are so tough emotionally and physically, it's hard to keep doing it. And the fact what they do and what kind of maybe worked in their favor with Mac Jones, they got a quarterback that can read it, see it, and throw it before you can even get out of your stance sometimes. Right. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but man, even again, there they are yesterday. They're playing the damn game against the Los Angeles Rams, and it's just bing bong. I mean, it's just precision. So they had that on their side.
Mac Jones only threw 6 incompletions on the day. They still got doubled up in the scorecard, but still 6 incompletions. He threw 39 times. I mean, that just kind of just shows you, like, what the hell? That's Mac Jones. I mean, people were trying to write him off the league there a few years ago. Now,
we've talked about that. But just to kind of go into these things,
I'm just saying,
No, it's okay. But you got the 49ers who are quick throwing the ball, and that works against just about everybody. And what do the Rams do? They hold the ball forever. Their normal throws, 18, 20-yard outcut, just throw it. That's who we are. We do it. I mean, man, come on. We'll talk about that later, but that has nothing to do with the Giants. But you're right about the San Francisco game. And, other things too that just –
I mean, hey, the truth is, right, is that Brian Burns, it's been awesome, right? So that's probably one of the better moves that Schoen has done so far, right? It's getting Brian Burns and drafting Jaxson Dart, right? Whether that was Daboll and Schoen working together on that, those are 2 of the best moves I feel like they've made in this tenure so far, right? The aspect I think of the defense too that's really disappointing is that our secondary continues to get just cut up and eviscerated in critical situations constantly. And it's like nothing that, like, to me is like overwhelmingly complicated. Maybe in the San Fran game is probably one of the better games they played as a secondary and still gave up big passes in critical moments. But, yesterday against the Chicago Bears, there's just way too many easy completions, especially in that second half for Caleb Williams. And it's not like they're running stuff that is super profound or difficult to stop. It's just like your basic run-of-the-mill stuff that continues to show up over and over. I feel like the Giants in the past few years have given up more completions on just like deep in cuts than any other team in the NFL. It's unbelievable. Dexter Lawrence not playing as well as he typically has. Of course, the additions in the secondary and some of the injuries have not paid off for us. And then ultimately, too, just the inability to be explosive on the offensive side. I think that's a huge thing. Even with Malik Neighbors, when he was healthy, there still seemed to be it was still tough to find ways to get him the football every single week or to create opportunities for him to really take over games. And then, of course, the rest of the crew, we only finally learned a little bit about Theo Johnson once Jaxson Dart got into the starting lineup in the first place. Before that, it was like, we see potential. We think this kid's good. We don't know, though. So it's been tough. It really has been. Sean Wilkes, who's in our chat right now, says best unis of all time. Sean, I agree with you. They should keep rocking. Nate Davis says we have no depth. I would agree with that. I think our depth, at times really is pretty subpar as far as just NFL standards right now.
Let me just jump in here as you do all that. You talk about those in cuts. I watched Caleb Williams today because I wanted to see what the Giant defense was doing, and I want to see Caleb Williams because he's been a lightning rod. But everybody's kind of shutting up now because we're seeing, oh, he's big, he's strong, he can really run. He's got a damn rocket for a right arm. And it seems like he enjoys playing because it's hard to get a big hit on him because if he's big and he can move around. But talking about some of those in cuts, man, he threw some absolute rockets in there for big plays. And, but the Giants, it's not that they were into really tight coverage. There was a big open space. He sees it. He can wait because of his arm strength, and he just threw him in there.
Yeah.
And, it's just, hey, again, if Jaxson Dart doesn't get banged up, I think the score was 17-10. I'm not sure. There's so much going on. But they're driving to score again, and he has to come out of the game, and that's when it changed.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in concussion protocol 4 times, right? I mean, he's only started like 6 games. So, that's not a great sign. That's not a great percentage here so far for us as a team.
Let me change this for you real quick. You ready?
Yeah.
So I would think Jaxson Dart will be out this week. I don't know. He could be back, but I would think he would be out. Now you do play it safe with him. Okay. Before, let's just play and see if we can win some games. But, and I've heard it on TV a little, and you and I talk about this off camera. Who do you start, Jameis Winston or Russell Wilson?
I'm starting Jameis Winston. I mean, Jameis Winston, to me, it's not even a question. I've been asking for it since I saw Russell get back into the starting lineup, or into the lineup, I should say, in the Eagles game on Thursday Night Football. There was just something about it where, he just doesn't look comfortable when he's playing. I definitely think Jameis is the guy. And honestly, at this point, I'd rather see a Jameis Winston 4 touchdown, 4 interception game and just, all action, dumpster fire type of style game than what we've been seeing with Russell. It's just like, the truth is, our team, we can't play the style that Russell needs to play to win the game. So in this sense, I would rather go with the guy that's really going to drop back. He's going to cut it loose. He's going to throw something that's probably questionable here or there, but at least is going to go down swinging. And I think that's what we really need, just as a fan base and just as a team too, for our culture.
Yeah, he's like a Dave Kingman. Nobody remembers that. He was a baseball player, played for the Cubs, I think. I can't even really remember now. But he was a home run or strikeout, and he had a lot of home runs. But that's Jameis. Even in preseason, he threw some passes that I would just go, wow, that is really special. But you're right about his energy, his size. Even Russell getting in the game, I did feel sorry. I felt bad for him because he's trying to manage it.
No doubt. In other words,
we're winning. I don't want to mess it up. So he's being really super careful. But and that's really what he should have been doing. And he did it. But the defense let it down. And of course, I never even really looked at it and said, wow, there was chances for him to have the big play somewhere.
No, that's a great point too. Yeah, like, I don't think there was many opportunities for him to succeed anyway, right? And what he was given yesterday. And I do believe that you're right. They were kind of playing not to lose once Russell got in there, right? And I understand that concept too. And really, this just felt like this was an iceberg that we saw miles away, that for whatever reason we just couldn't steer our way out of it, right? But I feel like we all kind of felt it like week after week, especially, these past few weeks especially, right? That just like, the question really is Mr. Mara going to do it during the season or after the season, right? And I think we're all kind of surprised too that just he did make that choice to do it in season. And, hey, with Coach Daboll, he's a good dude. We know him personally. We wish him all the best in the world. There's plenty of great coaches and good coaches out there who have been fired that have gone on to do great things. And we hope that success onto him going forward. And now it's all about the Giants, the search for their next guy. So for Mike Kafka, what an opportunity for him too, to kind of basically be the guy for the New York Giants. I don't care if you're the head coach or the interim head coach. When you're the coach of the New York Football Giants, that is pretty special. So, Mike Kafka, not the way that you wanted to earn this title, there's no doubt. But I wish you all the luck in the world, right, with being able to be the head coach of one of the best franchises in all of sports.
Well, he was calling a lot of plays, and man, when Jaxson Dart was in there, they were rolling. I know that. We like we had said during training camp and all that, we talked so much about the defense, and I was excited about it. Here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
29th in total defense, 31st against the run. Wow.
That's the one, because that was a problem last year and it carried over. But keep going, big guy.
No, 24th against the pass and 28th in scoring. So, man, for a defense that we're hoping is going to be really good. And I opened my big mouth many times during the offseason. Hey, man, the Giants are loaded on defense. This is going to be really interesting. If they get a little something going on offense, but the defense never caught fire in this last year and a half or more. And just these numbers, when you have these names on the defensive side,
right,
that it didn't work. And again, I knew Shane Bowen when he was down in Tennessee as a defensive coordinator. He was super aggressive. Now, I know they had some killers, that are hard to contain no matter what, but they were always up top or high in the most blitzing, man coverage, all that stuff. And I just never saw it with the Giants. So,
which makes me wonder too, like, was that like an influence of Vrabel on him? Was his maybe standard way of doing it with just like a 4 or 5 man rush with Daboll and influence from Coach Daboll? I don't know. Those things do happen between coaches, though, where head coaches and assistants kind of say, hey, we'd like you to kind of play this style to fit what we're trying to do. But, for me, Wink Martindale being the DC, that was the Giants' best year. And that style was, we don't give a damn. We're getting after it. We're going to be aggressive. And I think that really played into our style very well. Really, I think just our nature, even as fans, as Giants fans, right? That's like kind of what we're used to seeing. And that's kind of like our culture. I feel like, at times when we are successful is that, we can get after it that way.
Well, Matt, when you hire somebody, you want them to come in and be who they are. I don't want him to come in and be different. I was pretty excited about it. I remember reading off doing a preseason game, and Carl goes, gosh, are those numbers true? And I go, yeah, they're true. You know, and, Carl Banks was like, wow, okay, this is going to be fun. But so I don't know.
So we got James Brewer in our chat, and James said, we lost 4 games when we had an over 90% probability win rate, right? Wow. So that's a big one that hurts. And like, that's true. I didn't know that the percentage was 90%. I'm sure it sure felt like that when I was watching the games. There's no doubt about that. But ultimately, go ahead, big guy.
No, you know what I say to that is that just think about, the NFL playing, coaching, how close it is to good or terrible, whatever. And to be in those leads, just think if they won 3 of them.
That's right.
Whatever. Oh my, we'd be looking at this team different. And then we'd be yelling, man, they got to get and win more. We're worried about the playoffs. We got to get there instead of just, can we see a good game? Well, we've seen some, I think Giant fans, and, I pay attention to it, the fact that they've been pretty excited or not, I don't know how to say it, but at least they had something to cheer for, and they could see that the quarterback issue, which is a huge one, of course, across the league, it's dead. They got the guy now, so that part.
Whoever is coming in to take the job, right, is going to be pumped up about having the opportunity to coach this kid. Because when you watch him on film, he can make all the plays. He can use his legs. He is strong in the pocket. He does have a fearlessness almost to the point that is self-destructive, maybe in a way that we got to kind of help him, right, progress as far as being like, that's great. I love it, but I need you for the next down, right? I need you for the gotta have it moment at the end of the Chicago game, right? So next time, let's slide and get down before we take that extra shot there at the end. But ultimately, too, I think one thing that really kind of plagued this football team at times the Daboll era too was just the inability to run the football effectively, right? And of course, a lot of that had to do with the fact that the offensive line just mix and match in pieces, never really gelling, never really finding their true starting 5 consistently in the Daboll era, right? And the lack of depth on the offensive line too. I mean, last year we had guys coming off the streets and starting. So, of course, Daniel Jones was just getting absolutely slapped around when he was the quarterback. So, it's really interesting how just got to improve in both trenches going forward. And, we'll see what the future holds for the New York Giants, but big move being made today midseason or just.
My last thing would just be this: the defense, no sacks against Chicago Bears. Nobody can make the play that seems you need to make. It could come in many different varieties, but they never stop drives that way. Most of the time when I watched it, besides Brian Burns did get some things, and like you said, he had some moments in the game in Chicago, but they just never put the pressure on the Bears offense to make it calm down.
Right.
Ben Johnson's over there just going, well, whatever call is going to be pretty good. Let's go over this one now. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny either. It just once they got rolling, it was like watching Jaxson Darters when it's this. He hits a guy running down. He hits a seam pass. He's moving. I mean, man, he made a lot of really, really good plays there. And it's the offensive line actually did their job this year so far. I'm not saying it's great, but it's okay. And the other thing I want to see moving forward, just me as a fan and doing this, I want to see more of Abdul Carter. I want to see him in positions where he has a chance to put his hand on the ground and rush the passer more.
Right.
I never rushed a passer, of course, in my life. So I wouldn't know. But I think it's like everything else in sports and life. You need repetitions to really get the feel. Hey, he had it in college, but it's not the same.
Right.
Now he's going against giants out there at tackle. And, he played – I really didn't see him make a great move or anything to the quarterback in the game yesterday. I'm not even sure how many plays he was in there, but it didn't seem like it was a lot because I did look for him a few times and couldn't find him.
That's telling enough, right? If you didn't notice him, then, that's not a great sign, right? Because I feel like just the way that you watch the game, listen, I've watched many football games with you. You notice things pretty quickly, pretty easily, right? So if we're not noticing Abdul Carter, one thing I am very happy about, I want to say thank you to Diana Sims and Deirdre Sims for making sure that you kept your number. They were right. You should absolutely keep your number. So I'm glad that the women in our house were smart enough to know.
And your wife.
Do not, definitely my wife. She was not messing around either. I think she was the first call to you. So, we're happy about that. Now, that doesn't mean that Abdul, hey, we look forward to the retirement of your number and your jersey, but double sticks is staying with Big Phil. Big guy, for you going forward, are you thinking offensive-minded head coach going forward for the New York Giants? Or is Jaxson Dart is he that dude? It doesn't really matter as long as it's just good infrastructure.
I wanted to, if I had to get, it's going to be interesting. You can be a defensive coach, and can you hire a great coordinator? I mean,
you know what?
What?
I already know. There's going to be this guy who's a little funny, a little funky, okay, a little wild. Okay, he was driving around in a Maybach yesterday, chirping Buffalo Bills fans outside the bar after their big-time win there in Miami.
I knew you were going to say him.
What about McDaniel, huh? I don't know. Offensive coordinator?
Oh, I would hire him in a heartbeat.
I think as an OC, if you were like, all right, Jaxson Dart, it's not Tua. Dude can rip it. Dude can play aggressive. We can attack vertically with our passing attack and then mix in with your creativity and some of the other stuff that you've done so well with guys like Achane and all of them. Man, I don't know. I would be pretty pumped to see a guy like Mike McDaniel be the offensive coordinator for the New York Giants.
Well, I don't want to get ahead of everything. I'm sure Mike Kafka would like to see his
I know. You're right. You're right.
Okay. Yeah. But I like where you're coming from. I think Mike McDaniels, I think he can be a great offensive coordinator. And look, he played and designed an offense. I never forget he just said, if the quarterback has to look for the second option, I've done a bad job. So
how about this though? All right. So Blanco Gaming HQ. I like your idea, my friend. He goes, let's go after Steve Spagnuolo for our head coach. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Give me Spags, then give me McDaniel as the OC. And I got to tell you, we'll be having people going everywhere on the field, defensively, offensively. They don't know what will hit them. I would love that.
Man, let me tell you, that is true.
That would scary.
Be some combination. And it would be such a combination in so many ways.
Yeah.
Because we got one is Mr. Football, my God, and he's got his hands on his knees, and I got it. And the other one's like wearing what the hell is that outfit he wears? What do you call those?
I don't know, man, but he wears like a gold Rolex, and he's got the little tinted glasses. Like to see the what's the word that we're looking? The odd couple as the coordinators here, I feel like would be phenomenal. I would love that. So that's a good one too. I like that thought a lot for head coach position, just because guy's done it. He's been around a long time, right? We know how good he is as a defensive mind. There's no doubt that clearly he believes in the same amount of just mental and physical toughness as Andy Reid, right? For them to be together as long as they have. And I think that would be a nice piece, right, to add to what we got already on our roster.
Somebody brought something on TV today. I should have written it down. I did not. But they were talking about Brian Daboll. He worked with Josh Allen, which we all know. Mm-hmm. And where was he before that? He was down in Alabama. And who was his quarterback? It was Tua.
Right.
So that, and they just think, oh, well, if maybe he would be, and, it kind of makes sense. And two, I'm a big believer in this too. For these coaches, when they get their first head coaching job, I can't imagine you're ready to conquer all, because it's got to be so many things. I remember walking into Tom Coughlin's office when he's down there, of course, head coach of the Giants. And he goes, man, all I do is just this stuff, planning. I don't get to coach at all. And, Tom, he was like, it was killing him because, right. Well, I got to make the roster, and here I am. What are we going to have for lunch on the road trip? But I'm saying that for Brian Daboll, who does, I'm going to be honest, he doesn't live, I could jog to his house. He lives close to here. And don't get to see him that much because he's got such an unbelievable job. And even in off season, they want to stay away from everybody, but whatever. But it wouldn't shock me of him getting a job pretty quickly.
Right.
So
yeah. No doubt.
He wants to be a head coach again. I hope it works for him because, like I said, he's an ex-Giant. We like him, and I have no doubt he put great time and energy into the job. And sometimes it really is. It's a little bit of luck. Bill Parcells, after 1983, they wanted to fire him.
Right.
And Matt, he didn't get fired. Why? Because nobody would take the job. Can you imagine that? Nobody.
No, I can't.
Yeah. People said, no, we're good. Yeah. There's one guy, you remember Howard Schnellenberger, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, he coached with George Young down with the Baltimore Colts at the time, I think. And they asked him to take the job, and he said no. And I ran into him years later at a function, and he goes, the Giants asked me to take the job. And he goes, and then he just goes, bad decision on my part.
That would have been really interesting, man, to have him woven into the tapestry of Giants history. That would have been something interesting.
Oh, man. Listen, he was a coach, man. We're getting all over the place here but he was a coach that I'm trying to think. To say it's going to be tough might be the biggest understatement for a word ever. Man, he wanted to take it to the bone. Practice was going to be brutal. It's going to be hard. We're going to hit and da-da-da. Yeah. And he coached hard. So remind me one day, I'll tell you some really, really good stories about him. Really.
I mean, how dare you say that to our fans that are here watching us live and saying, hey guys, just to let you know, I got some great stories and I'll tell my son after the fact.
Well, maybe I'll call him. I don't even know if I think he's still alive. I'm not sure.
Well, big guy, that's an interesting question. But the other thing is that I did when I was with the Atlanta Falcons, right, towards the end of my career.
Right.
I was, obviously around, guys like Mike McDaniel and Raheem Morris and Dan Quinn and all these guys who have all gone on to be head coaches. But I had a really great conversation with Mike Mularkey, right, who was I believe the tight ends coach there my last year. Probably, and it shows you how locked in I was. I didn't even know what position that he was actually coaching, but still, I was talking to him on the side and I was kind of debating, right? Like, and this, I was like, should I go into coaching? Is this going to be a life for me and all that? So I said, hey, coach, I said, you've been in the league a long time, man. I was like, you've basically seen everything that could possibly happen to a football team and coaches and players. I said, how ready were you to be a head coach? And he goes, Matt, you're never ready. He goes, you're never ready to be a head coach. He goes, shit, I don't think I'm ready now. Still to this day, So what he was really encapsulating to me was the fact that just it really doesn't matter. It is a role onto itself.
Yeah.
All of the management that takes place behind the scenes, just how we're going to get there, what we're going to do when we get there, all this, like, it is pretty amazing, just all the work that goes into just being a head coach in the first place, and then being a great one on top of that, right, is what's just so impressive. But, for a guy who's been as successful as he has had of a career in the NFL, for him to say that like that, with a very just like stoned, stoic look on his face, like just look at me right in the eye and be like, you're never ready. It was really, it was very eye-opening of like, man, okay, I get it, because it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. I can't imagine either. Just studying the game plan each week was enough for me.
Yeah.
Trying to learn it. So I can't imagine you got to coach both sides, make all those decisions, hire the right people. I mean, it's like I said, Tom Coughlin, who was just one of the bear down coaches I've ever been around in my life. There he is filling out the lunch menu for the team on a trip or something. He just sitting there. Could you believe this? All the work I've done, I'm doing this. Well, he could have passed it off to somebody, but you know why he didn't? Because his mind won't let him.
That's right. That's right.
I'm going to do everything I got to do to make us give it sense. And I think it worked out pretty well for Tom, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And
Go ahead.
Let's get our boy Tommy Boy in the Hall of Fame, man. It's been too long. I mean, come on now.
Tom Coughlin. How about Mike Shanahan?
Yeah. Hey, how about Dan Reeves? Because I know Mike's going to make it. I know Mike's making it.
When?
He's got the Super Bowl. I'm not worried about that. He's going to get there. But Dan Reeves, he's a guy that absolutely needs to get in, right? Yeah. Because he just constantly gets overlooked. A huge part of the history of the NFL. But you're right, man. We have really gone all over the place with this conversation today. It's been pretty fun, though. I enjoy it.
That's all right. We got lots of things to talk about, but
But we're gonna do it another time, though, big guy, because we went a little over time. So you're gonna have to put all that stuff back in there. Tony over here is saying, how about Phil Simms as head coach? I'm with it. I'm with it, big guy. What do you think?
I was always going to go into coaching, and
Until what?
Well, I think as my career went along or whatever, I just thought, well, there might be other avenues. And then I had kids and I thought, well, if I'm a coach and work my way up or whatever, I'll never see my children. So I don't know.
No, that's a real thing. That's a real thing.
Yeah, it is. I think as my career every year went by, there was less chance I was going to coach. And I had great chances to coach in the NFL, great chances.
Yeah.
People that wanted me to come and join the organization, stuff like that. But I kind of chickened out. And, your mother and my wife, Diana, said to me, she says it all the time, you should have coached. I said, Diana, if I would have coached, I'd have been fired 3 or 4 times by now. And I would be angrier than I am now, whatever. And she goes, yeah, that's a good point. You forget. It sounds great, but man, the turmoil that you go through, it's like being a quarter. Well, it's worse than a quarterback.
Yeah.
When the game is over, either the quarterback won the game or he lost the game and he stinks, whatever.
Right.
And for the head coaches, it's the same thing too. We debate their decision-making, we do it all. And that's just part of the job. So
it is part of it, and it's, part of it is too, is just that, the juice is worth the squeeze when you are a coach and when you are a player, because man, when you do win, when you do have successes, you're just like, hey, I got to have more, man. Got it. Yeah, let's go. Let's keep doing it. Like as soon as you have a great win or honestly, a really bad loss, it's just like, can't get back to work fast enough. Let's do it. And so it is very addicting that way, but you would have been a hell of a coach, big guy. You really would have been.
Well, that we'll never know, and who cares right now? But this is, I ask coaches this. Remember, Tom Moore. I think he's 84 or 86 years old. He's still on the sideline of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I said, Tom, why do you keep doing this? This is, probably 6 or 10 years ago we talked about it. He goes, because when you walk out on that field and the action that comes, you just got to have it.
That's right.
I just went, wow, that says it all. I said, what do you do? But, when you get done on Saturday with practice, you go home with your wife? He goes, no, I go to the hotel and I watch college football games and I call plays for them. It's
I love
3rd
it.
and 7. This is what I'm going to do. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. He would rehearse what he was going to do, just thinking of situations. And I thought, man, it's borderline genius.
Well, I got to tell you, Tom Moore is probably pulling some of his hair out watching some of the college football stuff that goes on, man. Because some of these coaches in college football, it's like, what the hell are you doing?
That's right.
But yeah,
all right.
but yeah, this was great, big guy, and really just super unfortunate. All of us fans out there, hey, I get it. You're excited because there's this fresh new chapter ahead. Just remember there are real people, real lives and families a part of this, right? And as much as it's been disappointing and heartbreaking as fans, the people that have been involved and have really just their whole life and soul and all of that time goes into this, right? And just know they did their best. Hey, they came up short. That's a part of life. We wish Coach Daboll the best. Whatever happens to the rest of the staff this year, wish them the best as well, of course, in this season and what happens after. It is a tough game. And luckily, we live in a country too where, second chances are always at your disposal. So, good luck to all those guys and to the Giants. We'll see what happens going forward. Big Guy, I appreciate your insight into Big Blue as always. This is Sims Complete, a part of the Believe Sports Network, sponsored by FanDuel. And thank you all for joining us on this live stream. And we'll be back later this week to break down some of the film that we saw from this last weekend's game and some of the quarterback performances, but more importantly, set you up for the great matchups that we have in the week ahead. So we'll be back next time. You the man, Big Phil. See ya.
All right, bud. Have a good one.